Hey, what's up guys? Today I'll show you a thriller horror film, ZEE OUI, The Man-Eater. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. The film begins with a man in prison, spending his last days cooking a meal for himself. As he finishes his meal, the guards take him out of his cell and take him to the firing squad. Before his execution, the man recalls the times before he got to prison. The scene returns in 1946 when the man named Lee Huey migrates from China to Bangkok. However, the immigration inspector decides to call him ZEE OUI. The inspector then asks him about his migration, so Z tells him that he relocated to live a new life with his uncle. Then the warden verifies his purpose and tells him that he needs to pay taxes. However, Z doesn't have money, so the guards drag him to prison. His head gets shaved, and after that, he gets thrown into a small prison cell with other broke immigrants until his uncle picks him up. After bailing his nephew out, his uncle tours him around the town. He introduces Z to a family that sells poultry, where he will be working. The owner takes him in and teaches him how to butcher chickens. After learning how to do the man's business, Z begins his new life as a butcher. However, his life there is similar to an enslaved person. The owner's wife mistreats him and only feeds him rice, while the children think of Z as a plaything. They make fun of him, ruining his clothes with dirt, blood, and guts from the chickens. Soon after, the family's treatment of Z causes him to get sick as he coughs constantly. The next day, he gets angry at the kids and scares them off with a knife. This led to the wife hitting his head for scaring the kids, even though they were the ones at fault. As he lays on the floor, he gets wicked thoughts running through his head as he begins stalking the family's children. However, he doesn't go through with it and steals the family's money. After stealing at night, he runs away, never to be seen by the family again. The next day, a murder case regarding 3 children in a train yard causes an uproar. The news stated that it might be a psychotic murderer who committed the evil act, as the kids had their organs harvested. One female reporter takes an interest in this bizarre case and asks her boss to allow her to investigate. The boss gives her approval to investigate the case. Meanwhile, Z now works for a family in the rice business. However, his illness progresses, making him unable to work properly. The factory workers bully him about his sickness and even start harassing him as he gets weaker by the day. During their work break, he gets a visit from the boss's daughter, May. May comforts him during his difficult time, and they become great friends. She even gives him a flower that he wears on his head as a token of their friendship. However, as they get back to work, his colleagues think he is also a soft guy, as they see him wearing the flower at work. They bully him to the point that his flower for May gets broken. May sees this and leaves to find another flower for him. But Z misunderstood her actions as hating him, making him feel sad as she leaves. After work, Z goes to a clinic and buys medicine for his sickness before it worsens. However, his coworkers see him and begin bullying him again on the street. This leads to him losing his medicine as it falls into the mud. This causes huge stress on Z, and he starts becoming emotionally unstable. One night, Z sleeps on his bed while his sickness progresses. Just then, he recalls a memory of World War II. There he's a soldier on a mission to fight the Japanese. As his unit fights the Japanese, it's seen that Z is a coward as he doesn't join the fight on the battlefield. He almost gets killed because of it. But luckily, his commander saves him from death. However, the commander orders Z to be brave, and to do so, he is tasked with killing the injured Japanese soldier. In order to survive, Z unwillingly strangles the soldier. However, while he dreams about assaulting the injured soldier, May is beside him, trying to wake him up with a new flower for him. Unfortunately, Z's nightmare also makes his body move, so as he strangles the soldier in his dream, he's strangling May in real life. As he kills the soldier, Z wakes up, only to find May has died beside him, making him guilty and remorseful. The following day, Z hides May's corpse far away from their place to hide what he did. However, May's family and even the workers start looking for her. They're all shocked to see her dumped somewhere dead. Soon after, the reporter gets news of this and investigates the crime scene. The police give her permission to investigate, so she starts by questioning the locals. First, she asks the workers and locals about a potential suspect. At first, their raging hormones make them not take her seriously, but they eventually tell her of May's father, who physically abuses May even in front of the workers. The reporter follows this lead and goes to May's father, asking him about his behavior. However, it seems that May's father is not the suspect, as he regrets his behavior and mourns the loss of his daughter. Seeing no possible leads, the reporter wanders around the town to find any outsiders. Just then, she hears Z coughing inside a warehouse that acts as his home. She notices that he can't speak Thai and talks in Chinese instead. This makes her think he is an outsider and questions him. However, as she questions him about May, Z acts as if he doesn't know. She then notices a knife and asks Z about it. Z tells her that it's a keepsake from his mother. Seeing that Z doesn't know about May, she leaves, but before doing so, she gives him money for his medicine. The next day, Z still doesn't perform well at work, prompting May's father to fire Z, but the boss gives him a chance to work on a farm owned by his relative. Meanwhile, while the reporter watches her boss's daughter, Palm, playing there, she updates him about May's case. After hearing about it, the boss thinks that the father might be a suspect. However, the reporter confirms that the father isn't the suspect. The boss then tells her she should have paid attention to anyone nervous during her investigation, but the only one she could recall who was nervous was Z, but she thought it was only because he was sick. Just then, they notice that Palm is missing, making them worried since there's a killer on the loose. They both look for Palm and luckily find her with another stranger who politely helped her get her kite stuck in a tree. The two sigh in relief as Palm is safe. Later that night, the reporter gets a nightmare of her childhood. There she is revealed to be interested in child murder cases because she and her sister were victims. However, only she survived with a scar on her chest. After being a survivor, the reporter is determined to find child killers. The following day, Z now works on a farm where he is less stressed. However, his peaceful job is short-lived as a storm approaches. The next night, he gets a dream about his sickness under a strong storm. His sickness has been there ever since childhood, so his mother always nurses him. His mother gives him homemade medicines that heal him. His dream gets cut short as he wakes up and discovers that the storm has destroyed the farm totally. Saddened by this event, Z recalls his promise to his mother when she gave him the knife. He promised to live a rich life and get his mother back. But with the current events happening to him, that promise won't be fulfilled soon. Later that night, many kids go to his hut and try to make fun of him while his sickness worsens. Z snaps and chases them, but he cannot catch up to them since he's sick. He follows their trail instead and ends up at a fair. As he looks around, the feeling he had for the first family's children he worked for returns. Only now Z realizes that it's the feeling of being hungry. He kidnaps a little girl who got separated from her friends and takes her to an isolated place under a railway. Z suddenly recalls another memory of World War II. In that memory, his officer offers him the flesh of a Japanese soldier. It's said to give him strength and confidence. Z refused the offer in the past, but now he uses it to justify killing the poor little girl. He slits her throat with his mother's knife while the train passes them to drown out the scream. After that, he harvests her heart and uses it to brew a soup similar to how his mother made it. As he drinks it, Z feels himself getting better. Z almost gets caught the next day when he drops his mother's knife. Fortunately, the guard doesn't check the cloth wrap blade, and Z manages to flee with the train. At the same time, the police find the child that Z killed. The reporter and her boss then arrive at the scene of the crime. As the issue escalates, they get more determined to find the killer. After a while, Z reaches a wharf town where his another uncle is a wharf master. He then asks the uncle if he could take a ship back to China. Unfortunately, he can't let Z go back for free, so Z tries to find a way to make money. He then sees another fair and decides to become a thief to sell goods. At the fair, he spots a gold necklace and steals it. At that same time, the reporter and her boss are at the fair on their day off. Just as they go on a ride with Palm, the reporter notices the commotion. She runs after Z, but unfortunately, she loses him amidst the crowd. After escaping from the reporter, Z's sickness kicks in. This makes him crave another meal. He finds a girl not far away from him, buying ice candy. Z uses this ice candy to lure her away from the crowd, before snatching her and bringing her further away from the area. Z takes her to a cave where monks pray. Z commits the same act of killing her and harvests her heart. However, a child monk approaches the cave, prompting him to run and leave the place. However, he forgets his mother's knife and his sandals because of panic. Just as he leaves, the child monk screams as he finds the child and calls for help. The reporter and her boss are also near when the child monk asks for help, so they go to the crime scene along with some people. As they arrive, the reporter thinks that the necklace thief is also the killer, as she notices the thief's sandals. As the investigation progresses the next day, the reporter recognizes the knife but can't fully recall where she saw it. Meanwhile, the uncle appraises Z's necklace and finds out it is fake. After the failed heist, Z uses the kid's hearts to make himself his mother's special soup to heal his sickness. Unfortunately, the investigation gets disrupted when news of many different child murders in other areas happens simultaneously. This led to the police blaming any Chinese man for becoming their suspect, so as to calm the public down. The reporter disagrees with this action, as it still lets the killer be on the loose. However, the reporter and her boss could not find evidence to dispute the decision, so they followed the police's plan. Later that night, the reporter dreams of herself as she enters the cave that Z murdered in. She gets a clearer view of the knife as she visualizes the killer, but before she gets stabbed, she wakes up. The reporter immediately informs her boss about Z being the killer, after remembering the encounter with him where she sees his knife, so they track him down. They find traces of Z near the area of the recent crime and find Z's uncle. They ask if Z sold a necklace to him. He replies that Z indeed sold a necklace to him, confirming that he is the killer. He tells them that Z has asked his help to return to China. They call the police to search for Z in a beach province, which has a ship bound to China. Meanwhile, Z observes the kids who are playing with their kites. He then tricks them into playing with him, but he suddenly disappears with one of the kids. This alerts the police as the kids and their parents inform them of the kidnapping. After identifying Z, the police start combing around the area they were last seen. Meanwhile, the kid realizes that Z is out to kill him and runs away from him. The kid manages to hide from him in a cave. After finding the cave empty, Z leaves, prompting the kid to come down from his hiding spot. However, it turns out Z faked his leaving so he could catch the kid. Fortunately, before he can kill the kid, the police and the reporter arrive to stop him. But this only makes Z take the kid hostage. Fortunately, the reporter calmly talks him into surrendering his knife, and Z gives it to her when he hallucinates, and sees her as his mother due to stress and panic. The police then apprehend him and take him to prison, where he awaits his trial. During his trial, the reporter writes an article about Z, claiming that Z is a victim of his inner demons, and migrating to Thailand only unleashes these inner demons, prompting him to become a twisted killer. Meanwhile, the police put the blame on Z for all the murders in the area, even though he's not the only killer. They lack evidence and lead for the other crimes, so Z takes all the blame, while the other killers are on the loose. After making Z confess to all the child murders with a deal that promises his freedom back to China, the police decide to kill him, breaking their promise. As his death comes for him, Z remembers his mother. The film ends with a flashback, revealing that his mother used executed criminals during the war as food. Z's mother makes soup for these people and gives it to her sick son to make him feel better. This is Daniel's CC Movie Channel. Stay safe and enjoy your day.